Hello and welcome. I am Nameless. I'm going to be your host on this channel, and we are playing Once Human, and this is going to be the guide to the beginners. This is designed, this entire, not the channel, but the playlist is going to be designed for people who are brand new to the game. And so I'm going to do an introduction to the game, what's different about it, what makes it fantastic, and why I absolutely love it. And it is right now the only game that I am going to be playing and streaming. So to start out with, when you first load into the game, you're going to come to this screen. And it kind of can seem a little, this whole game can seem a little overwhelming because it seems like there's a lot going on, and there kind of is. But once you kind of get a feel for the menus and how the system works, it's really not that intimidating. So don't be scared. Just don't be afraid. There's not really anything you can do to mess things up. Your first account is not likely to be your last account. And so don't be afraid to get in there, try stuff, test things out, and have some fun with it, and decide if this is a game you're going to want to stick with, because if it is, your long-term play is, and your long-term goals are going to be a little different than someone who's just jumping in just to mash buttons and shoot things. If that's what you want to do, this may not be the best option. There are other games that are better for just shoot 'em up. There's games that are good for just building if you're a builder. This kind of combines a lot of features from a lot of games into one, which makes it kind of fun for people that like a full, robust experience. So to start out with, on this screen here, the first thing is you're going to see on the bottom all of the different scenarios that are available. A scenario is a limited amount of time. You play it for a certain amount of time. Look at it like different servers. There are different servers for different types of play and different levels of play. And this game is a little different than others in that there isn't server wipes. The server only lasts for so long to begin with. So I'm going to start out just looking at the novice scenario here. This is where I recommend that everybody start, just to learn the game, kind of get a feel for it, and understand what it is that's going on. And decide if you like it and even want to continue with the game. So the novice scenario, Manibus, the Deviation, Endless Dream, Way of Winter are all PvE. Primverse Clash and Evolution Call are PvP. I do not recommend jumping into PvP right off the bat. Even if PvP is your thing, it would be kind of nice to build your character up so that when you go in, you don't just get dominated by people who have built characters. So the novice scenario is where I would recommend that everybody start, just to get an idea of the mechanics of the game, how the game works. It is a 40-day scenario, so the server is going to last for 40 days, and then you move to a different scenario. You start a different scenario. You can't, once you play novice with a character, you cannot play novice again with that character. You got one time to play it, and that's it. Novice is nice because not only do you learn the mechanics, but you're learning it in an easier environment, and it allows you to build up some resources that are going to carry over into future scenarios that are going to be easier to gain during that novice scenario. If you don't want to start out with the novice, I would recommend number 2 would be Manibus. It's where the story begins. There is a storyline in this game. Manibus is where the story begins. Way of Winter is where it continues, and we're still waiting for the story to continue from there. Over time, they've kind of broken the story, so there's probably going to be a revamp and rewrite, but there's a lot of holes in the story and things that have changed in order to make the game easier, because apparently the devs thought that people had too hard of a time figuring it out, so they've made it a lot easier, but in the process it's broken a lot of the continuity of the story. So anyway, either Novice or Manibus is where I would recommend that you start. I have several characters all over the place. In Manibus, I do currently have a couple of characters. So once you choose your scenario, like if I was to choose Novice, I can create a character for this scenario, go through the introduction, and drop into that. I don't have a character currently in there. I do have a character in Manibus, and in fact, if I click on this and go to all characters, I actually have a character in Manibus and a character in Eternal Dream on this account. I do own 4 different accounts, so depending on my Steam account, depends on what I have as far as characters go. So I'm going to just jump into the Manibus here, just kind of where I already have a character, so that I can explain a little bit more about the game itself. So let's jump in. Like I said, this game is a little different than a lot of the other ones out there. It doesn't follow the same format. So this is me in my base. I guess it helps if I put the keyboard back on this computer. So we have different phases, and Manibus has 5 phases. The first phase starts out, when you first drop, you can drop into a server that's farther along. You don't have to start one that's going to start in phase 1. But phase 1, you're going to have only 3 sections. This is our map. You're going to have the Iron River, Dayton Wetlands, and Broken Delta. Everything else is going to be grayed out. You're not going to be able to go into those areas until phase 2. You're limited on what you can build, what you can do. It's kind of just a beginning area, kind of keeps everybody on the same plane so that you don't have people who run away in the first phase and just dominate and take over all the best areas and best resources. So this kind of gives everybody a slower start. The way that this works is Dayton Wetlands is kind of the starter area. There is a safe zone within each area, as you can see. That's these big blue icons. And that safe zone is where you're going to find vendors. You're going to find some characters that you're going to interact with that are going to help progress the story. And you're going to find these world stones that once you repair them, you can then teleport to them. And then, so you have, this is a vendor that's over here. This guy has commissions. Commissions are tasks that you can do to help progress your character. This is a different vendor that uses a different currency. Same with the one over there. So this is your starting safe zone. And you're going to start out at, I think, level 2 when you come out of the introduction. Or you'll get level 2 like as soon as you drop in here. And so the Dayton Wetlands, you can see the border here. All of the towns and everything that's within that area is going to help you get materials in order to level up to level 10. And some basic core materials. And then you'll level up to level 10. And while you're going through the storyline and leveling up and working on that, eventually it's going to take you down to the Broken Delta to Myers Market. And everything in Broken Delta inside this border is going to be materials that will help you level up to level 20. And then Iron River is third, and as you can guess, it's going to give you all the materials that you need to level up to level 30. So if you follow the storyline, it kind of progresses you through, takes you to the areas that have the materials that you need in order to level up to that next stage. There is a lot of materials. There's a lot of building that you can do, and you're going to have to get materials in order to craft your gear. Your gear can be tier 1 through tier 5. Tier 5 is the highest. You're not going to be able to craft tier 5 gear until you can get into the area where you can get the materials to craft tier 5 gear. You're also going to have to be in phase 2 in order to be able to get access to that. So the highest you're going to be able to get your gear is tier 3 during phase 1. And then you level it up as you level up your character. Obviously, the enemies become more difficult. So anyway, let's go back to this whole scenario. So Manibus is a scenario. There are 5 different phases. Each phase is going to give you different things. For example, in phase 1, you're going to have those 3 zones. In phase 2, it's going to unlock the rest of the map. Prime Wars are going to be available on easy and hard difficulty. Prime Wars are kind of the big wars that everybody participates in together, works together in order to beat large enemies. So all areas are unlocked. High-risk public crisis events are available. Monolith dungeons on hard mode are available. Otherwise, before this, it's just normal mode. And the securement silos hard mode are available, so it unlocks that. When you go into phase 3, it's going to unlock Pro and Nightmare on the silos, Pro mode on the monoliths, and then Prime Wars are going to be available. There's going to be Pro Prime Wars. And then phase 4, you're going to add in Close Encounters with Manibus. Everything is available to the hardest difficulty, including Nightmare and Apocalyptic for the Prime Wars, so you can get really high level, really difficult. You got to have 30 people show up in order to be able to beat the Apocalyptic and Nightmare. It's not something you're going to do alone. This game is all about cooperation. And then in the last phase, there's nothing new that's going to unlock, but what's going to happen is that you can then sign up for and leave the scenario and go to a new scenario with no cost and no punishment. If you want to leave up to, like right now we're in phase 4, so if I try to leave and go to a different phase, I have to early exit, which is going to cost me a very hard to get rare resource that you don't get a ton of. But I'm going to have to spend that in order to be able to leave. And you can only early leave 10 times per month. So we'll talk more about transitioning to new phases later on. There is a battle pass, which is available in a lot of different games. You get the normal if you don't pay for it. If you want to pay the monthly fee, you can get the advanced and you get a little bit higher level rewards, some more cosmetics than what you would get in the normal mode. It's mostly cosmetics, I'll be honest with you. So yeah, that battle pass is available for you if you want to pay a little bit in order to purchase that. The cost is, well, it looks like it is $23.99 for luxurious, $9.99 per month if you just want the advanced. Luxurious is a new thing, but it really bumps up the amount of cosmetics you get and the unique stuff that you can get. Nothing that's going to be functional. One thing I do have to give them in this game is that you can play the entire game in its full content to the fullest extent without paying a penny. 100% free. Everything you pay for is cosmetic. All right. We have this thing called the Stellar Stairway. What this is you can earn a currency called Asterium. That Asterium you then trade in order to get Starcrom. Starcrom is a limited resource that you use in order to purchase higher level weapons, better weapons, unique weapons, and to also upgrade the blueprints for those weapons in order to make them more powerful. It is limited, so the whole thing's going to reset in 26 days and 9 hours. Right now it went up to 22,000, and in 2 days and 9 hours it's going to update and we'll be able to go to 44,000, and then we'll be able to go to 60,000, and then it'll reset and we start the whole process all over again, and you get to earn Starcrom that way. Let's see. We have hives, which are small teams for the scenario. We then have war bands, which are larger team. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. Larger teams, and it is not limited to the scenario. You can join a war band and stay in the war band through multiple scenarios if you have a group and you want to stay together no matter what scenario you're playing. And of course, you have a friends system and a team system. Team is just temporary. As soon as you exit the game, the team is broken, and you then have to re-team when you rejoin. Friends stay friends forever, so you can look at your friends list. These are my alternates, actually, to be honest with you. And then I have cross-server friends where Draco, for example, isn't even in this server, but he is a friend. Let's look at what else we have in the menu. We have events that are going on all the time. There's always some kind of events going on. So right now, obviously, everything is still Christmas themed until the end of January, and then we're going to transition and probably go to a Valentine's for a short period for the February, and whatever. It just changes as you progress through the year. So right now there's this Christmas wish event going on. There is some pictures that you can earn, or purchase, I guess. Right now they're running this unstable secure thing. Oh, the event is over. Never mind. So that one just ended. Actually, that must have ended today. Select deadline the 8th. So I would, yeah, that just ended within the last 24 hours. Astro Duelettes is always there. These are, you get 120 of this per, I guess it says per day. But there is a weekly limit as to how many of each of these items. Well, these three have weekly limits. These two are daily limits. And it's just some kind of basic resources that in an emergency, you have no food, for example, and your character is starving. You can come in here and buy 5 pieces of flatbread. You can buy 5 orange juices. Adrenaline shots are, you don't really die per se when you first get knocked down. You can use an adrenaline shot to recover yourself. So you can get an emergency 20 of those, or no, you can get 1. But it costs 20 of these duelettes. You have a weekly limit of activators. Activators are how you recover health. And then you have sanity gummies, which recover sanity, which we'll talk about in another video. So yeah, it's some emergency supplies in the event that you're kind of stuck. And then right now there's the wish check-in. This goes through January 7th, so this is going to be ending very soon as well. It's part of the Christmas event, but there's always events going on, and most of the time I can only think of a couple of examples where most of these events are very worthwhile. The rewards are good. A lot for free-to-play players, it's how you can get a lot of cosmetics that you otherwise could not get. So yeah, there's all kinds of neat events that you can then use the unique currencies that you get in the shops in order to buy some stuff that you otherwise would not be able to get without spending real cash. So the events are nice. I really, 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 really like the events. Okay, so the idea of the game is obviously it's a huge world. It really is. It would take me a half hour to drive from this line all the way down to this line. It's a big world. There's a lot of towns. There's a lot of cities. These are side events that are going on. You can see different cities, and there's objectives within each city. There's a lot to do in this game. And you get to, it's open world. I mean, you don't have to do certain things in certain orders other than phase 1 is only going to unlock these 3 zones. Phase 2 will then unlock the whole map. And then phase 3, 4, you're going to get increased difficulty, which gives you obviously increased rewards. So there's a lot to do. There are these monoliths, and these monoliths house what they call a Great One. Defeating the Great One gives you specific rewards. And the idea is to build your character to make defeating the next thing easier. You're going to play the scenario. For example, this scenario was 40 days. You're going to play this scenario for 40 days, and then you're going to go to a different server. Now, you're not going to have your base. It could be the same map. It could be a different map. Your base won't be there. You're going to lose all your resources. They're going to go into a different world where you can inherit resources from previous events. These are resources that I have that are from previous scenarios, and I can bring them in, but you have 20,000 of this currency. So if I brought in this 1,000 wood, for example, it's going to cost me 1,000 units. It's 1 unit per piece of wood. So that's 1,000 off that 20,000 in order for me to bring that wood in. If I had a weapon that I wanted to bring in, for example, that weapon is, this one in particular is 2,000. The higher the level, the more the cost. You can bring in deviants that you captured in previous scenarios. But everything that you bring over costs you against that 20,000. So you're limited in how much stuff you can bring over. But you can bring some things over. There are some things that are going to be unique items to the scenario that it's not going to let you bring over, and it'll tell you when you have those types of things. There are some things that once you earn them, your character always has them. Actually, there's some things that are character unique. There's some things that are account unique. So even if you create a new character on your account, for example, blueprints, you have These are all of, let me just scroll through this. These are all the different weapons that are available within the game. But you have to earn blueprint fragments and unlock the blueprint in order to be able to actually craft that item. Like this one here, it's gold up in the corner, so it tells me, hey, you have enough fragments that you could unlock this. Notice there's a hold F for fuse, and it would fuse all the fragments and unlock this blueprint for me. And then I'd be able to craft that item. These ones that aren't grayed out, I already have unlocked. The ones that don't, that the circle isn't full, I don't have enough fragments yet to be able to unlock that item. And these blueprints, you can, once you unlock them, you have them forever. No matter how many scenarios you go through, you don't have to unlock it in the next scenario. You'll still have it. But you also notice that the blueprints have stars. So like the green star only has, or the green blueprint only has 3 stars. The purple one has 5. The orange ones have 6. Whoops, I did not mean to exit that. I am really sorry. So you can upgrade these using fragments. See, these are fragments that I own. There's Huntsman. So if you look at these, Wanderer, Beyonder, Wanderer, Operator, Beyonder, there's different categories of everything. And you can use those blueprint fragments to upgrade blueprints. So if I wanted to upgrade this, it's 1 star. I can come in here, and I don't own any blueprint fragments that would allow me to upgrade this. So I actually couldn't upgrade that. Let's see if I can find, let's take a look at this one. This one I have 60 of these fragments, 120 of these fragments. And so I can use some of those fragments to upgrade, and it would give me another star. This is to go from 1 star to 2 star. And so some of my blueprint, actually, I don't even know on this character. Do I have anything that's been leveled up a lot? I don't think I do on this character, to be honest with you, because this is one of my newest characters. Yeah, I don't have, well, this one's up to 3 stars. And so I can upgrade this. Well, it'll take 1,350 XP. These 15 are only worth 150. Now, if I have more blueprint fragments that match the exact item that I'm upgrading, they're worth more. So like this one, if I add it, you can see right here, it's epic. So I'm getting 10 points per one. So it's 150 points total. So I only have 150 here. But if this was legendary, the fragments are worth more. Let's see. Juggernaut has some legendary. So let's find a Juggernaut. Here's a Juggernaut weapon. Okay. So this weapon, these are blueprint fragments that are the same as this weapon. So if I use those, not only are they worth 30 each because they're legendary, but the same name fragments provide EXP times 2. So I'm actually getting 60 per thing that I use, which means I don't even have to use all the fragments, and I can upgrade to the next star and then upgrade to the next star. And the idea is to get your blueprints to the max stars. Figure out what weapons you want to use. Same thing with armor. Armor is exactly the same way. There's all the different, there's Operator, Wanderer. Over here are the fragments that I already own, and I can upgrade my blueprints. Now, blueprints and the upgrades and the fragments stay with your character when you move to a new scenario. The idea, the long game is to get the blueprints unlocked and get the stars maxed out so that you get the maximum benefit of that blueprint when you craft that weapon. So let's just go back and look at this one again. So right now, this is doing 255 damage with a fire rate of 500 and a mag of 100. If we go over to enhancement, it'll go, the only thing that's going to change is the damage, but it's going to upgrade my damage to 268. Yep, that's going to be the only thing that's going to upgrade on the next level upgrade. So I get more damage by going to 2 stars. I'll get even more going to 3, etc. down the line up to 6. If we're talking about armor, armor has a little different features. In armor, we have pollution resistance because there's polluted areas throughout the map, and there's psi intensity. Psi intensity is used on some builds where it might say, let's see if this one happens to be one. Yeah, it's not. There are some weapons that will say after 20 hits, it causes an explosion that does 400% of your psi intensity. So obviously upgrading psi intensity is going to matter. Pollution resistance, you want to upgrade because depending on the polluted zone that you're in, it might have different levels of pollution and you're going to need higher resistance in order to last longer in those polluted areas. And then HP obviously it's like a shield. It's HP. Most people understand HP. So if I was to upgrade this to like right now, it's 590, 21, 92. If I upgrade it, it'll go to 620, 21, and 97. And obviously it grows by larger increments as you go higher in the number of stars. So you want to get your character to have all the equipment that you need at the highest level possible. And like the hat is going to have a different effect than the mask, for example. On the mask, 295, 115, go into the next enhancement, goes to 310 and 121. My psi intensity jumps much more than it does with the hat. Same thing if you go with the top, you're going to have some variance. This one is psi intensity 67. Originally it was 64. So there's a jump of 3. HP. That's a huge jump in HP. So you obviously would want to look, if once you figure out your build, you're going to want to figure out what's going to give you the most benefit and upgrade that piece first. You don't want to use, like, you notice I have a lot of these that I could unlock. The thing is, if I unlock them, it uses the fragments, which means I can't then use the fragments to upgrade the piece that I actually want to use. Because I won't have the fragments anymore if I unlock this blueprint. So I don't want to use those fragments because I'm never going to use this piece of armor. I'd rather hang on to the fragments and use them for upgrading. So, I mean, there's a lot involved with upgrading equipment. There are constant events going on. We do have the battle pass, like I said. We have the phases. Scenario is limited. If we exit all the way out and go back here to these other scenarios, like I said, Manibus is first in the storyline. Way of Winter would be second. This is a 22-day scenario. Endless Dream is dynamic because it depends. The Endless Dream, the way it works is all have to work together in order to clear out a whole bunch of enemies of 3 different levels. And you have to work through the 3 different levels and eliminate 30 enemies throughout the map in order to clear the entire map. It depends on how fast the entire server works in order to determine how long the scenario is going to last. It does have a 45-day max though. The deviation one is a 28-day cycle. The PvPs, this one's 19 and I think this one's 40. Yep, this one's 40 as well. So yeah, it's a little different. It's not servers that reset. You change to a different scenario. You're going to lose a bunch of stuff. You're going to also have some things that are carrying over. The idea is to play scenarios enough, because you're in a scenario, for example, in order to upgrade your equipment, you need to have that Starcrom. You can only earn so much Starcrom in one scenario. There's a limit. You will not upgrade all of your equipment in one scenario. You're going to have to play multiple scenarios in order to be able to get all of your equipment blueprints upgraded. So it's a process, and it's up to you how you want to do it, what adventure you want to go on. Like I said, Manibus is the start of the story. It is the easier servers. I recommend starting on Novice. You don't have to. One of the things that was relatively recently introduced, okay, so we're on Novice server. Right here is the description. You can look at these are all the different deviants and what they do that are on this server. You can see the map region that's used here. You can see the different features and get kind of a little story and understand what it is that you're dealing with each of the different scenarios. One of the features on the Manibus server, well, every server except the Novice server, let me revise that, that you're going to have that you don't have in the Novice server is, let's see, where is it? The class system. This was recently added. We have Beastmaster, we have Chef, and we have Gardener. The class system is not available in the Novice server. But there's enough in the game that you have to learn how to build, the mechanics of things, how they work together. There's enough to learn without having to worry about the class system. But if you want to start out with the class system right away and learn everything at once, you can start with the Manibus server, and you'll have any server other than Novice server will have the class system. Beastmaster is probably the best if you're only going to play one character, just because it gives you the ability to train animals and have animals fight with you. You can have up to 3 animals that are trained and work with you. The Chef has unique recipes that they can craft. So you could use Chef if you're alone, if you wanted to rely on different foods to give you boosts in order to boost your character rather than have a companion. Gardener is going to be able to grow things that other characters can't. It is more of a support role for the Chef, so that the Chef can support the Beastmaster. So if you're going to do alternates, I have 2 sets of 3 characters that I put into the same server at the same time. One's a Beastmaster, one's a Chef, one's a Gardener. That way they all support each other. I build different things in each of the different areas. So I pretty much always have 2 support characters, 2 alternates in each server with my main character. Not always, but in most situations I do. I have found that the Endless Dream, it is kind of pointless to have alternates, so I only have 1 character in there. having all the classes doesn't really help. As a matter of fact, it makes it a whole lot more work. But you can follow the channel if you would like and kind of get an idea of how I play and how those things go along. So that is a very basic introduction to the entire game, how the game works. If you want to delve more deeply, each video that I do is going to be very specific to achieving certain goals and certain tasks. And so follow the channel and hit that reminder on the playlist, and you will get notification when I make a new video that pertains to getting started in this game. I hope you found some value in this. Hope to see you in the future, and be good to each other, and I will catch you on the next video. Hey guys, thanks a lot for sticking through to the end with me. I appreciate it, and I would also appreciate if you would smash those buttons. I know you know how that system works. It does help the algorithms, and I greatly appreciate it. You have a good one. Be good to each other, and I'll catch you on the next video.